Cold. I'm gonna hit you cold.
Yeah,
Okay? So you ready for this?
yeah.
I'm pulling up a very what's the word? Reputable. Perfect word. Reputable person in the fitness space, and you know who I'm on about. Okay, you'll know who I'm on about for sure
Right.
because we've talked about this. And his Hool page, you'll know as soon as I say this, is research papers. His Hool
Right.
page is research papers. So what
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
gonna do, and in no particular order, I haven't cherry picked these. I've literally just clicked on his page. What we're gonna do is click on each post, look at the title, and see if we agree with it or disagree with it.
Yes, sir.
Remember, this is what this is a science, James. This is a science, mate, and the science must be respected. Okay, so you better not step on this person's toes because they are the science. You with me?
I'm with you, sir.
Right. First one. After using Ozempic, people regain all the weight they lost. New study concludes. Agree or disagree?
Are we doing this short form or are we like elaborating?
Oh, we can expand. No, we can expound, sir. We
Right.
can
Sorry.
expound.
So what was it? They after using Ozempic, they regain all of the weight.
Right, yeah. So after using Ozempic, people regain all the weight they lost. New study concludes.
I would disagree with that.
Okay, why is that?
Um, well, I guess you could say from my own experience, I've not worked with anyone on it or who's been using Ozempic, but I've I'm aware of people who've used Ozempic, got some big weight loss and haven't kept it all off, but have kept a big chunk of it off. So from own personal experience, I would say, yeah, I disagree.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree entirely with that because it's a tool, isn't it? We
Yeah, of
talked
course.
obviously a little bit about this last week, so we won't go
Yeah.
into much detail on this. But um, you know, at the end of the day, any tools can be abused. Any
Hmm.
tools. And it is true, I think that because when we were chatting to Greg about this, he talked a little bit about the hunger signaling and how
Yeah.
that kind of comes twofold or even more actually when you come off things like Ozempic.
Yeah.
But that's largely down to just the rate of loss, right? And how much you've actually been in a deficit for all of those weeks or months potentially.
Yeah.
Um, so when you come off it, I can imagine that signal is probably very strong to want to try and potentially overconsume. But that's
Yeah.
where the education comes in, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just the nature of the overall loss of weight, not how this is something Martha's talked about before. It's not actually how fast you go that actually increases the rate of hunger afterwards or how slow you go. It's just the total
Total
weight
loss.
loss. So where you go, that's why aggressive fat loss can work well because it's not people will go, oh, if you lose it quickly, you'll gain it back quickly, which is actually unfounded.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, right. That's the first one. So we're on science nil.
Yeah.
No, no. What's a good way of framing this? Is it not science nil, but we disagree with science. 1 point.
I guess, yeah, yeah, yep, sure.
Okay, right. Cardio burns 70% fewer net calories than you'd expect. New study finds.
Um, well, when we say then who expects, are we talking someone new to exercise who doesn't have any knowledge on exercise and things like that? Because I would say agree on that.
Right.
People typically, and because the watchers massively overestimate calorie expenditure from cardio.
So you think the watches are really inaccurate then?
I can't say they're really inaccurate, but when someone looks at a watch, after doing an exercise class for an hour and they're like, oh my God, I've, expended like 1,000 calories and stuff. I think, first of all, you've got to consider is that your body is just expending calories anyway for that hour. You're not burning another 700 calories on top of what your body's burning. It may be
Right.
if you're working very, very hard, if you're a heavier person, you could be expending 500 calories, 600 calories in an hour if you're really pushing it hard. But that's not another 700 calories plus what you're burning through your BMR.
Mm,
Does that make
mm.
sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah. So you would actually be saying you'd agree with that one
I
then?
agree. I think
Yeah.
people massively overestimate what they're expending through exercise. Caveats would be if you're someone training for a triathlon or a marathon or something like that, then yeah, you are because just the sheer nature of the volume of exercise you're doing, you are obliterating loads of calories.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not going down the whole tangent of it. But you can just go out now and eat plenty of chocolate bars. Well, if you're just trying to fuel exercise, you can. But if you're also mindful of your body composition, then that's not a smart move to make.
Yeah, 100%. I think that that's probably why a lot of people, well, why running is so popular.
Mm.
Because people, well, not all people, but some people don't have that education in nutrition to know how to have that be the driving force behind their weight loss. So it's much easier just to put on a pair of trainers and go for a run.
Mm.
And
Mm.
look, that's not to, look, we're not bashing. If you want to go for a run, that's great, but
Not
do
at
it
all. I
for
mean,
your
yeah,
your performance and your health and stuff like that, rather than I'm doing this activity just to lose weight. I
mm.
think that's a problematic mindset to get into for various reasons.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, number three. It's a good idea, this, isn't it?
This is very good, sir.
Yeah. Um, no, I'm gonna skip that one because I don't. We ain't gonna know that. Okay. High and low reps train different muscle fibers. New meta-analysis suggests.
Go on, you can take that.
I would agree. So we're on 2 points for the science, actually, which I
Mm.
wasn't quite expecting. But of course, right? Like if you're training super, well, you just have to look at sports, right?
Yeah.
So, obviously we count a repetition in terms of training within the gym as, a single press or whatever it might be or a one rep in a barbell row or something like that. But you can expand that to sports in terms of you think about going for a run, for instance, effectively that's thousands of low-level plyometrics and low-level reps, effectively, right?
Yeah.
So you can extend that knowledge into okay, well, if you take someone who says does ultramarathon, right, and you look at the fiber makeup, then typically they've got far more slower twitch fibers because of the nature and how they train,
Mm.
right? Their muscle fibers have adapted to their sport. Okay, you look at in the gym, say take like someone who does more powerlifting, for instance, so something like myself. Then
Yeah.
you're going to find a lot more faster twitch fibers because we're trying to produce as much force as we possibly can into that single repetition. Um, so absolutely what you do, whether that's in training or outside of the gym, is going to have a different impact in terms of the fiber makeup that you have in your body. Now, if we're talking specifically about training, um, I actually think that the way you stress your body matters a ton.
Mm.
So people talk about stress, but they never define what creates the stress in a very specific way. Okay. So the thing there's two different types of stress that I think impacts the development of your muscles. Okay, in terms of output in force, you've got stress, what I call 1A, which is increasing your fives. So when you increase your fives, you are essentially tapping into more motor units because in a set of five, there's more accumulated fatigue because there's more repeated force efforts. So effectively, what happens when you have a very limit set of five on your back and you squat in and you take it from rep one to rep two to rep three, your motor units are recruited. But then to keep up that level of force production, your body has to recruit new motor units to the set. And
Mm.
that's why sets of five are really, really useful because now you're recruiting new motor units and you can use them, later on as the program evolves. That is the main type of stress. Then you have absolute force production, which is stress type 1B. And that's basically the most amount of force you can possibly produce in one given instance. And that means more weight on the bar, right? So
Yeah.
that's coming from your singles. So not only do your fibers react differently to depending on, what you predominantly practice outside the gym, they adapt within something as niche as strength training too. And there can be different effects on fibers based on what part of the program you're on, right? So I would actually agree. Um, and I think that's commonly understood, I think,
Yeah.
through our industry. Would you agree with that, mate?
Yeah,
Or
completely,
yeah?
completely agree. 100%. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
prime example, if you look at real extremes, take someone doing what is it called? Is it Les Mills pump class where they do sets for like 2 minutes,
Right.
versus someone going for a 3 or 5 RM. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
profound difference, isn't it, in what you're recruiting?
Absolutely, absolutely. When we concern ourselves with strength training and what
Mm,
creates the adaptation, what I said there at the end is very, very important because if you're looking to get stronger, see people doing a bunch of different things. Like some people think, oh, more volume is what creates the stress. No, that reinforces the stress. Volume's a
yeah.
means to an end, right? You can jump on the box as many times as you want, but if you don't increase the height, then you're never going to be able to jump higher. And the
Mm-hmm.
same goes with strength training. So if you're looking to create the adaptation, it's your fives, they're going to be the biggest builders, and then your singles as well on the other end of the spectrum for absolute force production.
Yeah.
Higher versus lower reps, same muscle growth. New study finds. Go on, sir. You tackle this one.
You're gonna love this. Come on, this
So,
is right up your street.
hang on a second. So is that 2-1 to the science?
I'm trying to
2-1 to the science, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I believe it is. Yeah, yeah, because we agreed on the energy expenditure from cardio not being
Yeah.
as much as possible, as much as usual. The only one we disagreed with was the first one, the weight loss.
Right, okay. Well, I'm going to balance out the score now because I completely disagree with this.
Yeah.
Completely. Higher reps do not cause muscle growth.
Hmm.
They do not cause muscle growth. Now, they might cause muscle growth in novices, and that's probably what's happened during this study. And by the way, the way these studies are conducted, particularly in things like this, is completely off.
Mm.
Said they use a bunch of newbies usually in these studies, and they're not also tightly controlling the parameters of the study too. Like, what are these people doing outside of the gym?
Yeah.
How are they supposed to know that? What's their stress like? What's their lifestyle like? The programming is very, very poor quality. The things they measure, EMG activation, whatever that means. I don't care about that. I don't care about
Mm.
force production, right? So, because that's what the body adapts to. So, these studies right off the bat, especially when it comes to muscle growth, I just don't put much weight in them at all. And the reason as to why higher reps do not grow muscle is because they do not allow you to lift heavy weights.
Mm.
It's as simple as that. So your body responds to increasing or introduce a new force production effort by increasing its cross-sectional size in muscle. So if you produce a new force effort which requires heavy weights for it to be meaningful and stressful enough for it to matter, then your body has to respond by increasing and putting on more size.
Yeah.
If you're using very high reps, then the weight isn't going to be stressful enough to truly tax those muscle fibers that you've just recruited. And people will then say, oh, what about the tension on the muscle, right? We were talking about this with machines.
Mm.
Your muscles don't care about constant tension. They don't care. They care about they care about force production and stress.
Yeah.
That's why when I squat or deadlift very heavy weights and an increase in the weight on the bar, it's brutally difficult. Like
Mm.
it's very hard to change your body.
Yeah.
That level of effort is never going to be replicated with a set of 30 on a perfectly designed machine for your biceps.
Hmm.
It's just not going to be the case, you
People
know?
talk about proximity to failure, don't they? And they say, oh, well, it doesn't matter if you're doing more higher sets or lower sets
Yeah.
as long as you're taking the set close to failure. But then, like what you said there isn't with a higher rep set, there isn't enough intensity, is there?
Well, failure can be useful,
Mm,
but it can be a useful byproduct, but it's never the
mm,
main goal.
mm.
So failure is useful because it allows you to accumulate more fatigue within the set. And as I
Yeah.
said earlier, if you're accumulating more fatigue within the set, your
Mm,
body's forced to start recruiting new motor units to keep up that force effort.
yeah.
But recruitment is different from exhaustion. Very
Mm,
different. And to truly exhaust those fibers and do something to them, the weight has to be heavy enough for it to matter. And I don't know how this hasn't gotten through to people yet.
mm,
Like in order for your physiology to change, you have to give it a reason to. And if you're lifting light weights with light forces, those muscles that you try, those muscle fibers you're trying to tap into, they are not going to respond to the stress you provide into them. And it is simple as that.
mm,
So that's why we lift heavy weights.
mm.
That's why we do it. Like, I don't want to get under some of the weights that I'm getting under on a Friday. I don't want
Yeah.
to do it. But I do it because I know that's what's going to get me
You
to
want
the
the outcome.
next
Yeah.
level, you know? Anyway, 2-2. Low starting muscle mass does not make you a hard gainer. I don't get that one. Do you get that one?
Um,
Low starting muscle mass does not make you a hard gainer. What's he mean by that?
so it means like imagine someone being very, very skinny, starting training. It means that that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to struggle to put on size and mass.
Right. Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I would say that's true. I
Yeah.
would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because yeah, I mean, um, I don't know, trying to think of something off the top of my head. Well, here's a prime example. He's been talked about a lot lately in sport for the amount of muscle he holds. Adama Traore. If you look at pictures of him when he was 17, before he got into any kind of resistance training, he was very slight, small, and someone could look at him and go, he might be a hard gainer. Well, he's obviously trained in the gym and he's blown up. So that's a prime example of someone who
Yeah.
defies that logic.
Yeah. I think that this whole thing of worrying about your genetics,
Mm.
one, you're not going to know truly your genetic capability ever.
Yeah,
Nobody has that level of insight. Like, I don't have that insight. You don't have that insight. Nobody does. So worrying about it is just not constructive to begin with. But what you
mm.
should worry about is doing the right things to make progress.
Yeah,
So this whole thing of, oh, if I hit my genetic ceiling, am I a hard gainer? Don't worry about that.
mm.
We'll never know. But what you can worry about is, are you doing the work?
Maximize, yeah, what you're doing. Yeah.
So yeah, I would agree with that. Okay. Um, let me find a juicy one. Oh, okay. This goes into last week.
Last week, all right, okay, go on.
Most peptides are neither proven safe nor effective. Go on, sir.
Well, from what I'm aware of them, yeah, again, I've not researched into these. All I did a little bit of research into is BPC 157 for its potential to rehab injuries when you've got, a tear or a muscle strain, tendon strain. But again, with that, everything is just done on animal studies. So I don't think, from what I'm aware, like I said, I haven't done the research into it because it's not an area I'm really into at all. I don't think there's much in the way of human studies on them.
Yeah, and I would agree wholeheartedly with that. Mate, the science is taking off. I think that's 4-2 now.
Yeah, it
Um,
is.
seed oils are healthy. New systematic review concludes.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, 5
Yeah.
2. Yes. Go on, expound.
I learned a lot of this from Alan Aragon that yeah, seed oils just don't bring with them all the the scarcities that are made out by, well, I'm not going to name the one individual who likes to rabbit on about this, but yeah, let's put it this way: he's freaking wrong. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
be far more concerned with the amount of, like the trans fats in your diet and things like that. And if you're someone who smashes the hell out of animal fat following a carnivore diet, I mean, be more concerned about that.
yeah. So with your trans fats thing, then, because I've heard you talk about this a couple of times. So
Mm.
obviously, trans fats aren't good for your health, right?
No, yeah.
Can you maybe explain why that is and what foods typically are higher in trans fats? But this is the part that I think is really important. Because I always say that food is more than nutrients, right? Of
Mm.
course, it's largely about nutrients, right? Like, we want to eat mainly a nutritious diet. But when we talk about this, we're not necessarily saying that that food is bad overall in
No.
terms because there's more to food than just the nutrients within it, right?
Hmm.
But obviously in terms of health specifically, then obviously having some negative health implications. So maybe expand on that one a little bit more.
Yeah, so trans fats are just associated with greater risk for things like heart disease, I believe, forms of cancer. So they're just a fat that we want to a form of dietary fat that we want to minimize, essentially. That doesn't mean never ever consume it. Like, does that
Right.
mean again, like you and I would never go to the chip shop and eat food from there, which is going to contain trans fats? No,
Yeah.
because but it's such a minor part of overall consumption across the day, week, month. So
Yeah, yeah. It's not something you have to worry about. Like, I'll have fish and chips once a month. Mate, by the way, we got a really good fish and chip shop
yeah,
near the
I knew
house.
you have told me about that. Yeah,
Yeah, you have to come soon.
yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing. It's like in moderation, right? Or, in minimal doses is completely fine.
The
You
devil is
know,
always in the dose. Yeah.
devil's in the dose. Absolutely. Okay, let's find one last one, and I'm gonna find a juicy one here.
Okay.
And okay. Hang on a sec. There's so many crazy ones on here, mate. Okay. Organic food is not safer or more nutritious. Recent review concludes.
Um, I would probably say agree.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
6-2 for the science. Wow.
yeah,
I wasn't expecting this outcome. To be fair, there's been a lot of nutrition ones though, isn't there?
yeah. They have. Yeah, yeah.
I think the ones where we disagreed, what were they? Cardio, yeah, predominantly training, wasn't it?
I think
Pretty
yeah. I think
much.
it was the lower reps, the higher reps for building muscle, and there was another one. Oh, um is there a difference in um like recruiting fast twitch versus slow twitch muscles depending on the exercise or
Yeah.
something along the lines of that?
Well, talk to me about the organic foods fallacy then, because this is a big one, right? Like I've heard numerous people, like they'll say to me, "Oh, pesticides, like you can't be eating food with pesticides on them or whatever it
Mm.
might be. They're bad for you, you know." So talk to me about this idea that somehow organic food is
Yeah,
better for you.
you're just again, from what I'm aware, you're not acquiring any more nutrients from eating like organic blueberries versus conventional standard blueberries or whatever you want to call them.
Right.
And then worrying about the pesticides on things like lots of like crops sprayed. Yes, they are, but you know, again, I'd be far more concerned with someone not consuming an array of fruits and vegetables in their diet than I would with someone going out and spending the extra money on organic produce. I
Mm.
just don't think you're gonna get any benefit from it. If you've got a ton of disposable income and money isn't an issue for when you go out, shopping, then by all means go and get the organic. I just don't think it's going to necessarily move the needle of your health in any great way.
Let's be honest, it's a complete rip-off, isn't it?
But yeah, I mean,
It's a complete and also it's like chemical compounds are in everything, aren't they?
Mm.
You know, it's when people go chemical compounds, oh, we got to worry about the chemical compounds. It's like there's chemical compounds in all sorts of stuff.
Everything, yeah, I know, and again, I think the people who say chemicals, it's like, what are you a scientist? Do you actually understand what they're
Yeah.
doing to your body? I mean, I don't.
No, I didn't.
So I mean, the number of people I see say that, and I'm like, oh, are you just trying to sound intelligent, or do you actually understand what you're talking about?
And also as well, sometimes, do you know what? Added chemicals are necessary to actually
Mm,
make you know, your food safer,
yeah,
right? Like this is where I don't know, I kind of jump off the whole idea that, you know, organic food is somehow better for you. I just don't, I've never understood that at all.
mm,
Um, and I just think literally, as you said, is for people that have got some more money that think, do you know what? I'm going to spend this extra money thinking that this is going to do something for me, and it clearly isn't. And I hate to break it to you, you're the target audience. So
yeah.
there we go. It's obviously working from a business standpoint, isn't it?
That's the
So
thing. It's
yeah,
like, again, you can't say, but if someone's going out pouring their money out on organic produce, thinking that's moving the needle for their health, but then they're not doing the big rocks like you know getting enough physical exercise every week, managing their overall energy balance, not over consuming on alcohol, not smoking. If they're not doing those things, then forget about dropping an extra 4 pounds on your blueberries. It's not doing anything for you.
no. I think if there's anything to take from this is that our industry is very good at, we said this last week, at creating a problem where there isn't one to sell you a solution that you didn't know
Yeah.
that you needed.
Yeah.
And that's particularly something that our industry has got very, very good at,
Mm.
or has always been very good at. You know, taking advantage of people's you know, lack of education in this. You know,
Yeah.
and it's just really unfair. You know, so yeah, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, but anyway. Guys, if you do you want to see us out? Because I realise I've taken the lead on the
Yeah, go on then. Guys,
last
if you've
few.
enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and review, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Good stuff, mate.